What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, this is coming a day after I finally managed to get my USA versus Trinidad and Tobago review up. Obviously, if you've watched that video by now, you know I was really pissed off in that video. I didn't even really do a great review of the game. I just talked about the guys that I was really disappointed in, the guys that I wanted off the team, bash Bruce Arena a little bit. But I've had some time to calm down, and I've been reading a lot of articles, a lot of different people's views on what happened, what was going on behind the scenes, all that stuff. So I just thought I'd put in my 2 cents and kind of open up a discussion here on my channel, mainly in the comments section, of what went wrong, what we can do to change it. So I'm going to start off with sort of my 2 cents. I don't really know a whole lot about the system structure. I've had a few people that I know that have been talking about how the youth system is set up and how it's really almost kind of a pay-to-play type of thing where you have to pay a ton of money to be able to even consider playing for the national team at a young age. So unless you're planning to try to go to the national team, you're probably just going to pay a little bit of money to play for some club team that's not really going to get you anywhere. So yeah, it is kind of a strange system structure set up to a point where only the people who have the money can get their kids into these big national team things, and that allows for a lot of kids who have a lot of talent and ability to just slip through the cracks. I wasn't one of the most talented players out there, but I was a very intelligent player, and just nothing happened for me. I didn't really play at some big clubs. I played for some local clubs because it was cheaper. It was more fun as well. My high school wasn't a big high school, so I really didn't get any looked at by any colleges or anything. And the college I tried to go to play canceled their men's program the year I was about to graduate. So I ended up not doing anything with soccer. I'm on an amateur team now, but that's it. My story ended there. And I'm not saying I would have been a great player or anything, but I definitely had the intelligence for the game that probably would have helped at least, I guess, maybe help my status in the game a little bit more as far as getting myself out there if I wanted to coach it anywhere or stuff like that. So I have seen a little bit of the structure and how it works and how it's very easy for the structure to fail. But I don't personally know a whole lot about the structure itself, so I can't really speak with any confidence or any knowledge. That was my laptop dimming, ignore that. So I can't really put in my 2 cents there, but one of the things that I do want to talk about is the players that we pick. It's something that I've been frustrated with, and I think I've expressed that frustration on my channel before, but we do pick a lot of local players that do well in the MLS, but it doesn't translate to the national game. Part of that, a lot of people talk about the MLS. A lot of people are talking about, is it a good enough league? We're trying to grow it. Atlanta United doing a very good job right now of growing the reputation of the league. But it's still a league where, at the end of the year, you got 12 out of 22 teams are making it to playoffs. And it doesn't really, it's not as intense when you're doing that. I know it's so much different. You can't really talk about promotion and relegation because the MLS isn't going to do that. There's way too much money being spent on these teams for some team to drop down to a lower division and play more like a semi-pro level. That's not going to happen. The league has not grown enough. However, if the teams continue to get added in, if there are more and more teams joining the MLS, there's a good chance you can start to add a second division, an MLS 2 if you want to call it. And so now you're playing for something. Even if at the end of the year you still have maybe a 6-team playoff or something like that, you pick the top 6 teams or even the top 8 teams overall instead of, top 6 teams from each division. Make it to where teams have to fight hard to get something out of this season. Because you really don't. You really think about it, Atlanta United, they've dropped, they tied away at New England, which should have been a win, and then they lost at home to Minnesota, which should have been a win. And we're just, it's not the end of the world for us because we're still in third place. We're still comfortably in the playoffs. We're still trying to fight for a hosting spot, but we're still comfortably in the playoffs. So, it's not the end of the world. You go to these other leagues, you watch the Premier League, which I watch every single week, it gets intense. These teams are fighting for their lives in this league. You know, I just watched my team Chelsea get beat today by Crystal Palace, who haven't won a game all season. They haven't scored a goal all season. They step up their quality today. Chelsea's not on top of their game, and guess what? The champions from last year get beat by the bottom team today because they're fighting for something. They're fighting to stay in the league. It means so much more over there to get 3 points than it does in the MLS. And I wonder if that mentality sort of transfers over to the national team. You know, these guys, they go to they're playing at home against Costa Rica, they lose that game. Well, you know, we'll pick up 3 points in the next game. They draw Honduras on the road. Well, we'll pick up 3 points in the next game. You know, that mindset gets you into a spot where we were on the last day, where now you have to tie. You should have beaten Honduras on the road. You should have beaten Costa Rica at home. You didn't do your job. Now you have to tie to manage to make it into qualifying, or make it out of qualifying and into the World Cup, and you didn't get the job done because you left it late. You left it to where now you have to get a job done. You know, you didn't get the job done early. You left it all the way to the last day, and guess what? You weren't ready for it. You know, the coach picked some bad players. The coach made some bad decisions on that day. Picked a team that probably should have been a little bit more defensive playing on the road. And now all of a sudden you lose. And the other two teams that had to win get the job done because they wanted it more. They wanted to get in. And so I do question the desire of all these MLS players that are getting picked. Do they actually have the desire to go out and fight for 3 points? You know, watching these clubs over in England fight for every 3 points they can get, even fighting for a draw over there, some of these games. I mean, Burnley, they fight every single game. You know, today they went down 1-0 against West Ham. West Ham gets a red card. It's still a fight. You know, that means West Ham's going to sit in the entire game. And guess what? Burnley manages to get a point out of it. They managed to get a goal late on because they fight. They don't give up. MLS teams, it's like I'm watching all these teams come to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it's like most of them, there are a couple that did come in with a willingness to fight, but most of them came in after they gave up the first goal. It was like, that's it. It's one-way traffic. There's no coming back from that. The only two teams that I saw not do that were Orlando, who scored first, and Minnesota, who scored first. Every other team came in, got scored on first, and then they were done. There was no way back into the game for them. Hardly had any chances. You see my point. The MLS does not build a structure that makes you want to fight for every game, that makes you want to push yourself to win every game. Because at the end of the season, as long as you're in the top 6 out of 11 in your conference, you're in the playoffs. And even if you're not, even if you're the worst team, even if you're LA Galaxy or DC United, guess what? It doesn't matter. You get a better draft pick next year. You know, it's not, the draft's not a great thing. It's not like the NFL draft where you're picking like top players, you know, the top quarterback or whatever. It's not as big of a draft, but you still get a better draft pick. You still get kind of rewarded for being the worst team in the league. That's kind of the American mentality, and that's where it's led us to. So this is just me personally. I know there are people out there who think the MLS isn't to blame. There are much bigger problems, and I do agree there are other problems aside from just the MLS. But I think that's something we need to start looking at is these players that are coming out of the MLS and into the national team are not coming in with a desire to fight for everything like some of these other players are. Watching DeAndre Yedlin, watching Christian Pulisic, watching Bobby Wood, you know, watching them fight for trying to get something out of the game. Even Bobby Wood, not a great game from him. He was really not involved most of the game, but he was fouling all the defenders because they were going over easy and the ref was calling it. But he's doing something. He's trying to win the ball back and he's fouling defenders because of it. What was Altidore doing the whole game? Just sitting on his ass doing nothing because it doesn't mean as much to him. It probably does. You know, I'm not saying, he doesn't want to win. But the fact of the matter is that fight and that desire doesn't come from a natural born ability because you're playing in the MLS where you don't have to fight and dig to get a win, because if you don't win, we'll get it next game. So those are my 2 cents about the MLS. Aside from that, there are obviously some other problems. You know, the U system I already discussed. The president for FIFA or U.S.A. Confederation or whatever it is, I don't remember. His name's Sunil Gulati, I think. Haven't heard a whole lot about him until just recently with this whole debacle. Basically, it sounds like, he's made some very poor decisions. He's the one that brought in Klinsman, bad decision. He's the one that brought in Arena, bad decision. And it sounds like, he's not resigning and nobody else is really stepping up to take his spot. That's kind of a problem. We need somebody in there who not only has a passion for the sport but wants to see us succeed. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know any. I really don't know much about him. I've heard that he's the one in charge, and I've heard that he's kind of been overseeing a lot of these decisions that has really screwed us over in the past few years. So yeah, I think that's something else we need to start looking at. We need to start saying, hey, let's get somebody in there. Let's get a FIFA president in there that is willing to fight, is willing to try to put together a program, put together a structure that we can build a foundation on and really start to push to create a better international team. Because we're getting the U.S. or the World Cup here in, what is it, 2022? No, not 2026, I think. It's not the next World Cup after this one, it's the one after that. Because this one's Russia, the next one's Qatar because money was exchanged, and then the next one is going to be us and Mexico and Canada, I think. So pretty much North America. But the thing is, we're going to get into that tournament for free. We don't have to qualify. The host nation automatically qualifies. We're going to get in for free. Let's put together a squad that wants to win, that wants to go out there and show, hey, we are a force to be reckoned with. The thing is, we have to be realistic. We're probably not going to challenge for the World Cup in anytime soon. These countries over in Europe, these countries, even, some of the ones in like Asia and South America, there are so many countries out there that are just doing it right and have been for so many years. We're not going to catch them. We may catch them like 40, 50 years from now when we've grown and grown and grown. But right now, we're not there. We've got to start building from something, though. And I think 8 years from now, whenever we're about to have our own World Cup here, I think we should have a squad by then that should challenge at least to make it into the final 8, possibly. I'd love to see a team challenge for that. I'd love to see a team go for the Final 4 even. Semifinals, I think, should be kind of not a easy goal, but a realistic one. I think we have the ability. I think we have the talent here. We've got so many people that are starting to love the game here. We've got the ability to put together a squad that can make it to the semifinals in 2026. But it's got to start from here. It's got to start from, okay, we had a catastrophe. We see that there's a problem. Let's fix the problem. And that's one of the things I didn't really talk about in the review that I've started to realize now, is that it's actually kind of a good thing we didn't qualify. If we had squeaked into qualifying because Panama or Honduras didn't win, nothing would have happened. We made it to World Cup qualifying. Whew, that was a close one. Nothing would have changed, though. Not qualifying for the World Cup in the Hex, that's a problem. That's a sign that something needs to change. And so now, hopefully, the wheels will start turning, something will get set in motion, and things will start to change. So those are pretty much my 2 cents overall. Obviously, it's probably not the only problems we have. There are probably much more problems than just the MLS or the U structure or even Gulati. But those are the 3 ones that are mainly being talked about. So those are the ones that I kind of thought I'd put in my 2 cents and give my opinion. But like I said, it's not just for me to give my opinion. I also want to hear from people out there, because like I said, the youth system structure, I don't know a whole lot about that. So if somebody, has more information than I do, wants to comment on it, please let me know, because I want to see what's going on, what we can do to change it. And who knows, maybe if enough people start stepping up and saying, hey, we want change, maybe we can start something. Maybe we, the people, just not even people involved in the international structure at all, but just people around the country who want to see our team get better, who want to see the national team that's actually going to work hard and try to qualify and try to progress in the tournament even. The people around the country that want to see that, we have the ability to do it, but we've all got to work together. It can't be this, people complaining about this, people complaining about that. As much as I do complain and bitch and moan about some of this stuff, it's got to be a team effort. It's got to be something where we all work together and force this change. Because if we don't, if we're all separated and all divided, we already are. You know, you look at our politics right now. We already are separated and divided. This has got to be something we all got to step together and work together to try to get something to change. So please let me know down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this? What would you try to do to change it? What are your opinions on some of the stuff I mentioned? And is there anything else that needs to be changed that I didn't talk about? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future USA reviews. I'll see you guys whenever the USA plays again, I guess. Peace out.